The pressure was eating me alive. I knew no one would understand because no one's beliefs aligned with mine, let alone the fact that the shit I saw and learned was too dark and messed up for anyone to relate to. The irony is, all of this shit literally saved me. It brought me to light. I can't even say I have it bad, to be honest. One single decision, one step towards the sky, it brought so many questions and led to such an extreme vulnerability. Got me saved like no worldly thing could. The journey didn't end, it started. And I had to make so many mistakes to learn, but I still knew nothing. I had to open up, to actually hear my thoughts, to process it all, to get stronger in order to hear the full truth. I became an open book after almost 18 long years in complete silence. A book with no coherent sentences, just a bunch of messy metaphors that burned me alive because they were looking for an interpretation. And eventually, she knew everything. But she also decided to spill her dark ink over my pages and tear out the very few bright chapters. This is a story about the stupidity of oversharing that at one point saved me but also ruined my life, sucked out all the energy I collected over the years. I want you to know that if you never felt truly understood by this world, you're not alone. You need to let things out, but you have to be really careful about what you let out and whom to. The book has to be read so its pressure distributes, but it also has to close right after. If not, it will ruin you. Maybe I'm about to overshare right now and make a really bad move with this video, or maybe I'll just help someone to recognize their worth and to realize that your story doesn't have to be heard in order to be valid. Hey internet people, it's Sky. I just wanted to show you just a bit of my writing, but because story gets too story-like, I'm just gonna vent about a few more details, but mainly just about what I wish I knew. If I actually read the whole story, the purpose of this message would be literally pointless. So yeah, if you generally don't fit in and don't feel understood in many ways, I get that. The thing is, sharing saves lives. There is no denying that. But oversharing can destroy you. And this is like common sense. But if you deal or dealt with oversharing, you know how hard it is because you know that things don't let you breathe. And maybe you want to let some things out completely because you don't want to let other things out, and the pressure kind of distributes, you know, it creates a balance. But the superpower is to know exactly whom to tell how and how much. Because us as people, we need compassion, we need understanding, we need validation and attention, and we have to let things out sometimes. But it's so hard to recognize whom to because it's difficult to find your people. Once I really opened up because I felt like I could. It was night, it was summer, just me and 3 others, and I wish I could tell you the story. I wish I could read you the story because it is kind of like a chapter of the book, but then I would literally overshare. One person that was there was the person I already had a toxic relationship with, but that night was so chill and the energy was perfect. Deep talk, you know, like summer, just really calm night, stars, balcony on the top of the building, and you know, we talked and we talked and we talked, normal stuff, and joked around. But then eventually the conversations got more serious and slowly I started to deep talk, like really deep talk, really dark shit, connected to trauma and also like my faith and how it helped me, and they were drinking my words with their eyes. It was kind of funny because they didn't even have like similar views as me, but they took me so seriously with actual respect I never got before, and that's what truly kind of got me in. And the silence I experienced the next morning was literally the loudest thing I've ever heard, and I never felt so naked while being fully dressed. Sorry, I just had to like put those metaphors from the writing in it because I don't know, I thought it was good. No one even knew what to say, and one person was literally crying that night because they could relate to a psychotic thing they experienced with no previous understanding whatsoever. But that one toxic person obviously started to find me really interesting. And let me tell you, information means power on a whole another level. If you open the book, you have to close it right after that because people will start to rip out the pages, write random shit in it, try to make things messy. You should never let your boundaries off because with that you give people the expectation of how they can treat you. If you let them know your insecurity and they aren't like your real friend, or even if they are your friend but you bond with that insecurity, which is a topic for a whole another video, they will use underground tactics to use these insecurities against you. You know, you put out some information and they hold you on to that information. You set an expectation for yourself and they will hold you on it. If you you share, they'll want to know more. If you make them laugh, they will constantly expect you to make them laugh. Just because someone knows a lot about you doesn't mean that they are your friend. Right now, I knew that I would act differently, but I just couldn't deal with like some people taking me or seeing me in a certain way. I knew that the reality was so different. You know, like sometimes people don't take you seriously, or they see you as, oh, this person is just like that, and you have so much depth to yourself, and you get so annoyed because you can't really tell people, and that's what really triggered me to telling shit. If you pour yourself out, people will either get uncomfortable and back off, or they will set an expectation for you that you always have your boundaries off. I experienced both of those things. And the problem is that when you start opening up, it will start purging out if you don't have a lot of willpower to control it, you know? And if you open up to like strangers you meet randomly anywhere, you can really bond over things, or they just don't understand you and think you're interesting and like you for that, but they will back off because they will get uncomfortable. But that's still much better because they don't stay invested, they don't manipulate you and use you if they aren't in your life, you know. And my like deeply oversharing phase, when I really needed that understanding, validation, whatever, people started to bond with me and they started opening up like they never did before to other people. And I actually like understood, or at least kind of understood, most of their things. And you know, it created some type of connection and it did make me feel special. But guess what? This way you're setting yourself to become a free therapist, and it drains you completely. But you can't stop living to that persona you already created. You created this image, and if you have people pleasing traits, you're gonna continue being that person. And when you're gonna be completely used and you won't have any energy, people won't find you interesting anymore and they will just back off, take all of your energy. Like, I know everything is common sense, and I knew back then that it was common sense, but sometimes you really have to go through shit. Sometimes you really have to go through every phase of this mess to actually see it, process it, and also the trying to be the good person phase, you know, when you try to figure yourself out and you see your mistakes and you have this like amazing moment of realizations and you just try to like be a better person. That can also be draining because you put so much pressure on yourself because, you know, you wanna change, but us as human entities, we're so complex. There is just so much different aspects of us, and there has to be some time in order that we process our whole life, like every aspect of it, and what we went through and what we are currently going through and what's like on the outside and what's spiritually and what can you tell people. It's like so many things. And about the oversharing, if you have those types of traits, I just really advise you to just stop being available via phone. Don't share stuff through phone. I don't mean like posting on social media like this as well, obviously, but just don't text people about because social media or like messages or whatever, like the phone is the barrier, and then you feel a lot more comfortable with sharing because the reality doesn't seem as real to you. That's why talking to online friends is so easy, because it's just like phone and no face, and you can just talk and you let your whole soul out, and it can be a really great thing if that's an online friend. But if you talk to people from real life through your phone, the barrier gets off because you have your phone here, you're like alone, and because you're alone you're comfortable. But that's actually so dangerous because it's so easy to make yourself open. The boundaries don't feel as real, you know, and people can use your text against you. They can screenshot it, they can shit talk about it. And I'm not saying I never did that. I think we all did it. And if you didn't do it, you're just like super unproblematic, perfect human being, I guess. But if you give people the impression that you're always there, or that you're just there because maybe you think like, oh my god, we're friends, like I have to be there. Ideally, yes, but if this person isn't necessarily like the real friend, they will take advantage of your availability. Combine this expectation and like the people pleasing traits and the oversharing traits, you become an open book through phone as well, but like you're energetically open. And it's not just a metaphor, like literally when you think about stuff, you're open to those stuff, and it's, you know, in the spirit as well. And if you're open to this type of people with like those connections are literally connections, like it's not a metaphor. That's my belief. Also kind of like a common sense if you're like a more spiritual person, I guess. In my case, with that person, I was so drained. I was set up for their control all over me, and what got me in was the validation, the respect or the fake respect. You know, they heard my story or they heard stuff about me. And again, like, it's probably not even as bad as you think, but some aspects get just like really super dark. But you know, like, people are interested, especially if they don't have much life going on, and if they're intelligent and manipulative by nature. That's not a good thing, but you get the validation and you actually feel validated, and then I wish I knew, but also it had to happen. And it's also like constant humiliation, like constantly like jokingly calling you stupid and mixed with like validation, and we would be like cry laughing every day. Of course, I initiated all the jokes and continued all the jokes, and I made the other person laugh. Also, like, the humor and stuff was also so addicting, but because I was this source of humor and fun, it again set the expectation, and me not taking myself seriously set me up for them not taking me seriously anytime I wanted them to. And when I did want them to take me seriously, they would get mad about it because, you know, how dare you be serious? Generally toxic shit. And I literally became their charger. I became their power bank. And they were like icy logic type of intelligent, and I was like more emotionally intelligent. I'm not like straight up logic. I'm just trying to mix logic with like emotions, seeing things from other perspectives and try to sympathize. And those two characteristics aren't a good combination. And if you see yourself slipping into even remotely similar situation, run away. And if you are in this situation, if you can't run away because you're just too close, at least make sure you're not available on your phone, and they will get mad about it. They will try to control you. But like, I don't know, deactivate your social media if necessary. Unsend stuff, unsend texts, unsend unnecessary photos. I wish I did that also, and I kinda did, but also kinda didn't. But like, it also doesn't matter now, because guess what? You think you depend on them, but they actually depend on you. If you're dealing with a narcissist or a manipulative person, they probably have no source of good energy, and you become that source to them. It's so hard to break this cycle, because once the guards are off, it's impossible to let them up. Mix this with teenage drama and being physically unable to escape, and you know how I felt. It's so easy to prevent this if it clicks that you should be like at least semi-private, or you know that you closed up like soon enough, or didn't share like through text on other stuff. And it's so easier if you take yourself seriously, because if you eventually don't take yourself seriously, then you try to take yourself seriously, they will mock you for that, because oh, like, why are you so serious now? And I also realized that I had like, you know, some talent, some potential, just some generally good traits, but if I tried or if I revealed any of it to that person, still, like, it's still, if I tell people, like, I just don't tell people stuff, yeah, I would get so shamed and made fun of, because this person's identity and power is fake. It's all fake, and they have to bring you down in order to lift themselves up on a still pretty low position. She mocked me as soon as I just initiated a thought of me being interested in anything artistic, or like singing, or me being on the internet right now. But that's because they didn't have anything I had, you know, and they had to pump their ego with like really superficial stuff. But when they would mock themselves, it would create mentality for me like, oh, if I hang out with them, I have to be toxic to myself because they are toxic to themselves. And if I take myself seriously, they will be like, oh, hey, I'm oh, hey, what?
I don't feel good about myself, so you aren't allowed to feel good about yourself. And if you feel good about yourself, I'm gonna find something that would make you feel bad about yourself.
I was a shoe, so I drank a bit of their poison and spread the toxicity back. Little by little, subtle bullying every now and then, gossiping to a lot of people. And it was bad. I recognize it was bad. I was literally like twisting my own self. Forgive yourself for what you did when you were in a survival mode. Emotionally, you feel so drained, you feel so exhausted and powerless, manipulated, worthless. You know, just like the energy gets just so negative. And thank Jesus Christ for the world situation that let me escape all of it and just working on my own success, you know, like getting those straight A's on the finals, emotional healing, finally seeing progress, finally trying to be myself, not some like fake version of myself that they wanted to create. If you reveal that you have a certain light, either that's just your traits, and with my beliefs, you know, everyone is welcome on this channel, as I always say, but like if it's faith in God as it was and is with me, read the room before you speak. Even if it's just one person in the room, they will try to take this light or this, just what's good in you, they will try to take it from you if they don't feel secure in their own heads, in their spirit. You can have any sort of belief system and leave me a comment down below, like, how do you feel about this stuff? Like, do you feel drained just like mentally, or do you feel like anything spiritually going on? I'm just saying that when I saw myself and my spirit like suffer with this toxicity that made me generally a worse person, it was enough, because I was starting with like preaching one thing and yeah, how I try to be like a good person and how I try to be like this and that, and then the toxicity and the manipulation would literally set me up to be the exact opposite, and I wouldn't even be able to be that version anymore. And I remember just like gossiping about this toxic person because I was just so full of shit. And then I told one person about this, and then I was just like, yeah, like
I try to be a good person, like not doing this, not gossiping.
And when I said not gossiping, this person was like, I would get offended, but I was just literally like, oh my god, you have a point, you have a point. Just that little simple laugh that was just like, the irony made me rethink stuff. If you can relate to any of what I just mentioned in this video, it's time to free yourself. And if it takes you kicking back in any sort of toxic way, I'm no one to tell you otherwise. Just make sure you don't make things worse, because there's such a fine line, and of course it's just better to like not spread any toxicity, because it's only gonna get worse. But like, if you really see the situation and you have to do it, you have to like push the person back with a bit of toxicity. I'm not gonna tell you to do it, but do it. When you cut off a narcissist, they will be completely alone because you are their source of power. Even if they try to make it seem like it's the other way around, it's not, believe me. So stay safe, forgive, but never forget. Sky loves you, God bless you, again, if that's your belief, and I can't wait to interact with you on this platform. Bye bye.